On this video, we're going to be building the video library. After all, we're building a Netflix type of website here, so we need to have the pages where you actually see the videos. And this is a good time to talk about videos more in depth than we've done previously. So the first page we're going to be building is this event page. Basically, what happens when you pick an event, you actually get to watch the video and then watch more from the same category. The next page we'll be building is this member zone. Basically, what happens after you log in, you're getting kind of like a featured event and then some more recent event. Pretty much same components that we have in the home page. So that's pretty easy. And then a sports page, which is basically where you get to after you pick a sport from the Discover menu and just basically gives you a list of all the events within that category. All right, so let's start with the event page. In here, we have an interesting thing which we haven't had before, which is a video. Now, we did have a video background, just kind of like a short, low quality video looping in the background. But that's not what we need here. Here, we need a full high quality video, including a player so that people can watch, see where they are in the video. Now, Webflow natively gives you two components to deal with video. The first one is here from the media, it's a video, but this component basically allows you to put in a link from YouTube or Vimeo or some kind of a video hosting, and then it's basically embedded. Now, this sometimes can be nice, but one thing you have to note is you're getting all of the UI. It looks like a YouTube video, and also on YouTube or Vimeo, videos might be, they might be public. Some people might want to watch them outside. So you're not necessarily want to host with them. You can, but in a website like ours, where you're basically selling access to videos or something like this, you want to make sure that you have access and you're hosting them somewhere completely, you're owning where you're hosting. And Webflow doesn't want to host videos for you. Videos are large files. And again, they just don't want to manage that for us. And so if we're not hosting them on YouTube or Vimeo, we have to figure that out on our own. So that's basically the video component. And then we've seen that we have the video background, which does allow you to upload a single video into Webflow, but that's limited. As I've mentioned, you don't have the player. You can only upload up to under 30 megabytes of video. So that's for a video background, not for an actual video that you might want to have for like 2-hour video or something like this. So as I said, we need to find a hosting solution in where we're going to host our video. And the best way to do that is using Vidsflow, which is a dedicated platform to host videos to be used inside of Webflow. They also have an integrated Webflow app to make it easy for us to customize how the video look and stuff like that. So that's going to be really, really great. I've already went ahead and opened up an account, and you can open up a free account and you get 10 videos, up to 100 videos. In our case, if this was a client website with like tens and hundreds of videos, you would have to probably have a paid account here. But for our case, I just uploaded one free video, and I've also added the link to this video to our CMS. So the CMS that we have here is calling for this video. Basically, we would need a dynamic link. Each one of these events would have here a link to the video. You can see I'm calling from the Vidsflow video right here. So if our clients would go ahead and upload 100 videos here, we would basically go inside, go here into the sharing and copy the video link here. And then I've added them into our CMS here so that we can call the right video from the right event. So this is basically how we're going to be working. We're going to be using the Vidsflow to pull in and embed the video inside our events page. So let's get started. Now that we've got the concept of video and how we'll be working with videos, let's go ahead and create the events page. So the events page is this one. It's a dynamic page. It already is here. And let's see what we have here. So basically we have a navigation. The navigation looks a little bit different than in the home page. Doesn't have this extra text, doesn't have this login button. Probably don't need the animation. So we can create a more simplified, navigation that we'll be able to use in all inner pages. So let's go ahead and create this simplified navigation. Let's see here. We've got the nav wrapper. So let me go ahead and copy that into the events template page. Let's go ahead and paste that here. For example, this thing, I don't need it, so I can go ahead and delete it. What else do we have here? I don't need this login page, so I can delete that, and then we can bring in another ghost button, we called it. So let's bring it here. Yes, this one, we can call this log out. We might need to later on, when we'll build the membership, we'll need to disassociate this from the component. But let's see that here we can align them to the right side. This looks good. We don't need all of we don't have interaction to change this around. I do want to bring in this sport link a little bit down. I don't think that it's positioned in the right way. So let's see how it's positioned. There's a little bit, let's close this so we can see it. We did a manual transition here, so I think I'm going to make sure that it's this way, -30. Okay, the navigation looks good to me. Can actually go ahead. We are missing, though, the Discover. If we're going to click this, we need the Discover to be open. So I also need to make sure that I copy this one, menu mask, the whole menu. So let's go ahead and copy that to the events page. paste that here. Just want to make sure that this actually works. So it has the interaction. Let's preview this and see if I click discover. Okay, so it's working. Okay, so I've got these two components here. Actually, the nav wrapper and this one, I can turn both of them into a component. So let's call this inner page nav. And as you can see, we can't actually turn the mega menu into a component. And I guess that's because we have a collection list inside. And yeah, we'll just have to copy and paste that on every page. But basically, we've got the navigation done. Let's continue. So the next thing that we have here is actually a section that holds the video and then holds this text here. So let's go ahead and add a new section. So add a section. Let's call this first section video section. And then this video section is going to have two elements inside. The first one is going to be the video embed. Now, basically, if I would only pick a single video from our video library, then I can go ahead to my apps here and I can go ahead and install the Vids app in here and I'll be able to embed the video right here from my library. But in this case, because I want to bring in a dynamic video, the right video for this event, actually, let's go ahead and use the embed code from here. So from the VidsFlow website, I'm going to copy this code and I'm going to paste this below this video if you want to just take it from me. And let's go in here and bring in an embed code. So I'm adding an embed element, and I'm pasting the code here. That being said, I can go ahead and save and you'll be able to see we have the video with a player in here and we can go ahead and customize the player settings from here. However, let's go back here and let's reopen the code. Right now, we're embedding a single video. And what we actually want is to embed a dynamic video from the events template. So you might remember that in our CMS, for every single event, we actually have here a video link. And as you can see, this is basically referring to a video VidsFlow basically from here, right? Took the share link and copied it from here. So what we actually want to do is change this video link depending on which event we have here. So the way that we're going to do that is in our custom code, we're actually going to replace this whole thing that we have here after the source with, let's see what we have here, with video link. Let me just make sure that we are doing this correctly. Video link, and then let's save and see if it actually works. Yes, it actually works. And it also actually autoplays, which we didn't really want. However, I can see that I've probably made a mistake here when I've created these links. You can see that these links actually include all of the parameters that we have here, which is AP probably stands for autoplay equals true, muted equals true, loop equals true. So probably all of these parameters, I wouldn't want to have them in the video link. The video link, I would probably want only this included. So actually, let's go ahead and change that, although I don't want to waste time and do it 52 items. So let's just see what event I'm on right now. So Ironman World. Basically, I would go here into Ironman. Let's find Ironman. Ironman World. Oh, which one of them? I don't know. Okay, let's try this one. And let's take the video app. Let's remove everything that's actually after the video. Okay, let me save this. And then let's actually call this Video Championship 1, just because we have two CMS names here. Okay, let's see. We are in Ironman Championship 1. Okay, so now we have just the link. And if we open up the code editor, we have just the video link. We probably need to bring the rest of everything that happens after the video link. If this is the video link, all of these parameters. And here you can see that autoplay is set to false. So let's take all of the rest of these all the way here, copy that and paste that afterwards. Okay, fantastic. So now we've got a clean link in the CMS and we've got what we want here. And the video is actually embedded. And that is great. We can test that. We can go ahead and play. We can see that we have the player here. It's a little bit too big. So let's go ahead and style this video. We can also see that we have here, should have 30 pixels from sides and a little bit of space from the top. So let's go ahead into our embed component. Let's call this video embed. And let's give this margin of 30 from both sides. And let's go ahead and give this some padding from the top, 90 padding from the top. Okay, now we've got our video element here. We do have the VidsFlow logo here because we don't have a paid account, but that's what you get when you're using a free account. Okay, after the video, we've got the video embedded, dynamically changing from event to event. Now let's create this information section. So inside of this section, inside the video section, let's bring in another div to hold them. And this one is kind of like a container that has space from both sides. I think we already have a class for this. Contain, section header contain. Fantastic. That's the class that we have here. And we can go ahead and bring in a date and basically 3 text elements. So one is text element, which is the date. Let's bring that up here so we can see that that's the date. Let's actually go to the video element and give this padding from the bottom. So there's space between the information here. Let's try 20 pixels. That's okay. Actually, the name of the event in this case should be the H1 because this is basically the main content of the page. So let's bring in another H1 element in here. Let's grab the name from name. That's great. I'm wondering if, yeah, that's probably a good class for this. And then description below. So let's add another text element, text block with the description. Okay. This H1 has too much spacing in the top. So maybe let's go ahead and edit the H1 and remove the space or just give it 10 pixels. Okay, this looks better to me. Okay, we've got the content section. Actually, for the video section, let's give this also padding from the bottom. So we have a little bit of space here at the top, below. And we can go ahead now and bring this section, which is a section that we already have. Let's head back to the homepage to copy this section. Now you will remember that this has a custom code attached to it. So we'll have to copy the section itself, and then we'll have to copy the code to make sure that this works as well. And actually, maybe if we have this on every single page, do we have this on every single page? No, we don't. I was wondering whether we need to put this code at the settings for the whole website, but no, we don't have this on every page. So let's just make sure that we're copying it. Start by copying the recent event section. Let's go to the events page. Copy that after the video section. So we have it here. Let's head back to the homepage. Actually, I can just open the settings for the homepage from here. Head back, not the code for the attributes, the code here. So copy that, head to the settings of the events template, body, paste that right here. Okay, so that is good. However, what we have here is watch more. So here we were pulling just the normal, events, 10 recent events in here. Watch more. Here we want to bring in, let's say, for videos from the same category. So let's see what is the collection that we're pulling from. So it's events, and it's just limited 10 events, sort from newest to oldest. But what I want to do here is I'm going to add a filter for the actual, maybe sport type, not necessarily the same sport, but just sport type equals current sport type. So the first one you see is dynamically changing. So it will know what the sport type of the current event is, and then it's going to add a filter just to make sure that we're bringing in events from the same sport type. So you can see this one. Right now we're in the event of Monaco Grand Prix, so it's bringing in another racing events here. So that is good. That's good. We've changed the filter. We've got that. The last thing that we have to add is, I think, is our footer, which we have as a component, I think. So footer, let's bring it, and I can bring it here to the end. So let's see, we have the whole page here. Fantastic. Okay, so the video page is now done. The next page we want to build is the members page. Let's zoom out here, and this is a members page. So this is not a dynamic page in a sense that this is just a normal page where people get to after they log in. So let's go ahead and create just a new page here. Let's call this members zone. And let's see what we have here. So first of all, we've got the navigation. So let's go bring in, we've got inner page nav, which is what we need. What else do we have here? So the first section that we have here is, we can call this featured event section. So maybe the most recent event or something like this. So this is a collection list that only has one item. And then we have this recent event, and then we've got the list. So these are easy. These are copy paste. This is basically just a single thing that we need to create here. So let's go ahead and create this new section that we have here. And we can see it's pretty simple. It's probably taken up the whole space with a background that's coming from the CMS, details that are coming from the CMS, and then just watch that takes you to the page. So basically this is a section with a collection list inside of it. Let's go ahead and create a new section. Let's call this featured event. Oh, we already have a featured event CTA grid, but we don't have a section. Okay, so let's call this section. And then this one, we want it to take up the whole screen. So height set up as 100 viewport height. That's great. Inside, I want to bring in a collection list. collection list of events, and not all of the events. Let's head back to settings and let's limit to just a single item. And let's make sure that we're bringing the latest event by doing sort, date, newest to oldest. So now we've got one event here that's here at the top, and we want to make sure inside we have the actual event. So the actual event, let's call this featured event item, and let's make sure that it also is 100% viewport height. Let's give it a background image. So from the settings, background image is the thumb. To make sure it doesn't repeat, let's head back to the style. Let's add, where's the backgrounds? Background image. Let's just add a background image so that we can go ahead and set this to cover and center it to the center. So this looks great. We don't need to tile it. This looks great now. What else do we need here? One thing that I can see here is that the navigation actually doesn't have a black background. It has kind of like maybe a gradient background. So I can actually go ahead and edit the inner page nav and see that, where do they get the background from? Is the background coming? It's not from the nav wrapper, nav contents wrapper. Okay, so the background comes from here. So let's add a combo class here and let's call this nav inner page wrapper, and just remove this background color and maybe just add a gradient. You know, let's add a gradient that is going not from black to white, from black to actually black, but that has 0 opacity. Maybe, yeah, something like this. And maybe I can move it. No, let's give this a try like this. Okay, so I like this. I think this looks better. Fantastic. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, we've got the content here that is basically aligned to the bottom left corner here. So that basically means let's wrap all of this in a div and then align it to bottom left by turning the whole item into a flexbox. So start by adding a div, which we'll call featured event content, maybe content, I guess content. Let's turn its parent element, the featured event item, into a flex so that we can align it to the bottom and left side. So now we can see it here. And I can also add to the featured event, drag here about 70 pixels of inner padding, just so that we have bottom and right spacing accordingly. That looks great. I can already tell, by the way, that I'm going to need to add some kind of a gradient background here as well, just to make sure that the text is readable. Let's first bring in the content. So we have date, and then the name, and then description. Already had that previously. So text block, get text from date, not description. Actually, we do need the description, so let's copy and paste. The first one, let's turn into a date. December 8th, that's how we see the date, I guess. And then let's add an H1. And we're going to give it a name here, Pipeline Masters. Okay, so you can see it's not very readable here, the date, because we need to bring in some kind of a gradient here at the bottom. Let's also add the button that we have, which is button main, I guess. And we're going to set this to watch event. And in order for this button to not take up the whole space, let's turn the featured event content into a flexbox and make sure that they are vertically aligned and that they are aligning to the left and not taking up the whole space. Okay, so this is good. Perhaps we also need a little bit of spacing here. Thought I reduced the amount of space that these headings have on the top because it's always too much. Okay, yeah, there's still too much spacing around this heading. So I'm just going to remove all of it. Yeah. Okay, now let's deal with the gradient. Ideally, we would go for the featured event item and add another gradient on top of the background image, but we already know that's not possible because the background is coming dynamically from the CMS. So if I'll add another background, it's just going to be on top of it or not visible. So we have to bring the background differently. We'll just have to create a div and set it to absolute. So let's, for the featured event item, if it's going to have an absolute item inside of it, let's turn it into in position relative, and let's create a gradient. So let's add div inside. So let's call this div featured event bottom gradient. And let's make sure that it's width 100%. Let's also turn it to an absolute and align it to the bottom. For height, what do we need for height? Let's try 20%. No, I can already see it's not going to. Maybe 50%, maybe 45%. Okay, this looks good. Let's bring in a gradient. Gradient. Let's flip this around by setting this to 0, the degrees. Let's take the white and turn it into black, but remove all of the opacity. Okay, this looks good, but we want to make sure that it's below the text. So let's give this bottom gradient a z-index of 1. And let's take the whole content, featured event content, turn that into relative. Now we get access here to the z-index, and we'll set that as 2. And now the text is on top of it. This is still not very readable. Maybe I'll do text color white. Text color white here, yeah, just to get a little bit more contrast. Okay, and this watch event, this needs to link to a dynamic page, and we can't do this from the component, so I'm going to have to unlink this instance and change that into the events page. Okay, so that is good. Now it's working. Okay, so we've got the main section. Next section is the recent events, and we can just go ahead and copy that from the home page, just as we did in the previous page. Recent events, let's take this whole section, recent event section, go into member zone, paste that in the body. Let's go and take the code from the home page, copy that, member zone, paste the code here in the body, save that. We've got the next section as well. One thing that I see that I've made, I guess, as a mistake is I've picked for the black gradient, actual black, and not the kind of like grayish black that we have for the background. So I want them to match. You can see here that it's different shades of black. So let's go back to the gradient, and in this black, let's pick the brand black. Yeah, that's right. Should probably do that for the nav bar as well. Let's figure out where we gave the background to the nav content wrapper, linear gradient from black. Let's pick this black. Okay, so now everything uses the same colors. That's fantastic. We've got the recent events. Now we want to pull in this all events, including the filtering. So let's go into the home page and see this is the calendar section. We don't need this top of the calendar section, but let's take the calendar section itself, bring it to the member zone, paste it here. Let's remove the calendar heading, which we don't want here. We just want this. We've got the list, so that is great. And we want to make sure that we remember, because we're bringing in the FinSuite CMS filtering, we want to make sure that we copy the code to make sure that works. So I'm going to copy that from the homepage head, go to the members zone, and paste that in the head as well. The last thing that we have here is to bring in the footer. So let's take the footer and let's drag it here into the end of the page. Okay. We've got the members zone page set up. The last page that we have is a really simple page because it's a very simple copy paste. It's the sports page, which basically has something very similar to the members zone. So we can just copy and paste this section and then a list without filtering. So let's go ahead and do that. Actually, I'm going to copy the featured event section even before I'm moving. And we're talking about not the sports type template, but the sports. Because remember, from the Discover menu, you can pick an individual sport, and that's going to take you to this page, which, let's paste this, is going to have a featured event. However, let's make this featured event relevant to the sports that we're coming into. So if we're in base jumping here, let's make sure that we're filtering for the sport to be equal to the current sport. Fantastic. So save. That basically means this is base jumping. Oh my God, look at this person with 3 hands. That's what happens when you generate images with Midjourney. Okay, so we've got the first section. Now we just need a list of the events. Let's head back into let's head into the member zone. Let's go to the calendar section. Let's copy this calendar section. Let's head back into the sports. Let's go into the body and paste this section, but we don't need this filtering here. We don't need this form or H2 filtering wrapper. We just don't need the first thing here. So we just need a list, and this list, we just need it to be filtering for the current sport, for sports to be equal current sport. Fantastic. In this case, base jumping, we only have 2 events, but that's what we want to see in this sports page. Okay, we basically have all the video library pages ready, and now we're ready to turn this website into a membership website. See you in the next video.